Hi guys, Jay here. So, spur of the moment video, I had a notification a while ago on the F1 app, new article, from fastest lap to increased rookie running, 7 rule changes you need to know for the 2025 F1 season. And this is by Chris Medland. So, just for context, it's quite late, it's 10 past 10 on Wednesday the 12th of February that I'm recording this, so I will have to try and I'll have to try and keep my voice down because I don't want to disturb the neighbours. But I started looking through this, and there were some interesting things. I haven't read all of them yet because I just had the idea to make this video. So I'll go through the ones I've been through, and then I'll carry on from where I was, and yeah, just give you kind of my thoughts on it. So it says, 1 year out from a major overhaul of the technical regulations, you'd be forgiven for thinking that nothing is changing this year, but there are still a number of tweaks to the rules for the 2025 F1 season, and here we run you through the main ones that are worth knowing about. So 1. The removal of the fastest lap point. Since 2019, a driver finishing in the top 10 could earn a bonus point by setting the fastest lap of the race. Sometimes that meant drivers would still be pushing late on trying to take the accolade, or even make late pit stops for fresh rubber to increase their return. But it also opened up the possibility for a car outside the top 10 to pit and take the point away from another driver, even if they weren't going to score themselves. And with the bonus sometimes proving a controversial topic, the decision was taken to remove it from the scoring system this year. The rest of the point system remains unchanged, with the top 10 drivers scoring in the Grand Prix, the top 8 in a sprint. So, obviously, this comes due to last year when in Singapore, Daniel Ricciardo pitted for the softs late on and took away the fastest lap point, even though he wasn't in the top 10. Obviously, Daniel Ricciardo was driving for RB, the sister team of Red Bull, and so there was a lot of speculation that this was done deliberately to, because they're the sister team to Red Bull, it was to basically help Red Bull. Laurent Mekies, sorry, I can't pronounce his name, the team principal at RB said, if I remember correctly, that it was to send Daniel Ricciardo off on a high, and it had nothing to do with the fact that Red Bull were fighting McLaren and Ferrari in the constructors. In hindsight, I can see why this has been removed, and I think that was a big part of it, to be honest. And I think, you can say it was for Daniel Ricciardo, you can say it was for Daniel Rick, but in the day, RB are a sister team to Red Bull, so there was always going to be that speculation that it was because Red Bull was fighting McLaren for the constructors, and so theoretically Red Bull had 4 drivers on the grid, not 2, if you get what I mean. So number 2, driver cooling systems. If a weather forecast predicts temperatures of 31 Celsius or above at some time during the sprint or Grand Prix, a heat hazard can be declared. Teams will subsequently be notified by the FIA of the declaration and will be required to fit a mandated driver cooling system. This in turn leads to an increase in the weight limit of the cars, with 2 different limits applied, an additional 2 kilograms for practice, qualifying and sprint qualifying sessions, but a total of 5 kilograms for a sprint or Grand Prix. So that's 2 kilograms for practice qualifying and sprint qualifying, 5 kilograms for sprint and Grand Prix races. Short. So it then says, the 2 different weight limits are in place to allow teams to fit the base system to ease workloads, but without needing to fit it with cooling fluid, as it is not considered necessary to mandate use of the system in a practice or qualifying type session, due to the shorter run nature of these sessions. A driver cooling system is defined as a system the sole purpose of which is to provide additional cooling for the driver, and is set to be delivered in from the form of a fireproof shirt that allows a fluid to be pumped around a series of tubes. It also increases a pump, plumbing, and a thermal store to generate the cooling, such as an ice block. And as you know, before a Grand Prix or before a race, you'll usually see the drivers wearing like a white overall which has got ice packs on it, that kind of thing. This obviously, I imagine, comes due to what happened in Qatar I think it was in 2023, there was a lot of drivers that ended up with sickness, like motion sickness. Sorry, not motion sickness, heat sickness from the heat. I remember, I think it was George Russell, Alexander Albon, and there was another one. Can't remember who it was. And so, if I've got my facts right, last year the Qatar Grand Prix state had been moved so that the temperature was a little cooler. So yeah, it's basically to prevent like things like heat stroke, that kind of thing, I imagine. Limits to race drivers testing old cars. A year ago, there was a tweak to the testing of previous car TPC regulations, as teams had to use components that had run during a race weekend at least once. This time around, the changes relate to drivers getting behind the wheel. While teams can carry out up to a maximum of 20 days TPC running in any given calendar year, their race drivers are only allowed to take part in 4 such days, during which they are not allowed to exceed 1,000 kilometers of running in total. The restriction only relates to TPC track time using a car that is at least 2 seasons old and not tyre testing or promotional running with current machinery. Teams are also only allowed to have the TPC car available to run during the test at any time. So I know Lewis Hamilton has been testing for the 2023 Ferrari, I think it is. And I did read the other day about it, like there was a limit. So yeah, in short, changes to testing for drivers, how much testing they can do in old cars. Yeah, what it says on the tin. For more, now this was the last one I read before I thought to make this video, because I thought it was interesting. More running for rookies. The mandatory FP1 running for rookie drivers has been expanded for 2025, ensuring double the amount of track time during a race weekend for those who have participated in no more than 2 F1 races in their career. Teams have had to run a rookie at least once in each of their cars, so on 2 occasions in total, each season since 2022, but as of this year, that number increases to twice per car. So with each team made up of 2 cars, that means 4 occasions during the year when they will run an inexperienced driver for the first practice session of a weekend. Excuse me. So obviously this year we've got 5 new rookies. We've got Gabriel Bortoleto, we've got Jack Doohan, we've got Isaac Hadjar, we've got Oliver Bearman doing his first full season, and we've got Liam Lawson doing his first full season, and Kimi Antonelli, and Andres Kimi Antonelli as well. So six new rookies. This is great. I love this. I love this for 2 reasons. One, first of all, not many people watch free practice, unless maybe people that like us that play F1 Fantasy, for example. But 2, this now sets the stage moving forward. Could we see more opportunities given to rookies? Could we see more change in the drivers market every season, with people maybe impressing during practice? So that's 2 runs, so 2 rookies per car, 10 teams. That's a lot of new faces we're going to be seeing potentially in free practice, and I think that's great. I really do. I really think that's awesome, and it really sets us. It makes me wonder, like, moving forward, could we see more rotation? Because up until this season, we've pretty much had the same people every year, really. If we go from 22 to this season, so let's do these regulations. De Vries and Zhou Guan Yu came in. Oscar Piastri's come in. Liam Lawson has kind of come in like halfway through last season. Who else have we had? I think they're the ones that come to mind straight away. Whereas now, moving forward, we could see even more like changes if these rookies impress. And even if they don't get into Formula One, this could potentially give them seats elsewhere, like, you know, World Endurance Champion, the World Endurance Championship, Le Mans, IndyCar, touring cars, anything like that. So this is great. I love this, and I'm excited for it. So, tighter restrictions on DRS designs and wing deflections. The FIA has tightened up the technical regulations surrounding the rear wing and DRS drag reduction system, with the main changes focusing on defining the state of deployment and restriction to only two positions, closed and open. This has been brought in to close off mini DRS concepts, where the top elements of a rear wing tilt backwards at speed to reduce drag. There will also be more stringent testing on the rear wing slot gap to limit how much deflection is acceptable, up from an applied load of 10 newtons to 30 newtons. Other related areas that are still pending approval by the F1 Commission include a new deflection limit on the upper rear wing to reduce the gap allowed between the rear wing profiles and the rear wing tips. Similarly, stricter limits on front wing deflection limits to be introduced from round 9 Barcelona onwards are still to be approved. So I imagine this was now, first of all, I'm not an engineer. Secondly, science isn't my strong suit, so I'm not, when it comes to like things like newtons and that, I'm not an expert. But I imagine this has come due to what happened towards the end of last season. I think there was some controversy with, I might be wrong about this, but I think it was Red Bull complained that McLaren's wing would flex more than it was supposed to, or something like that, and then the FIA just, like, that's right, if I remember correctly, Red Bull complained about McLaren because the one that, I think it was the rear wing, flexed more than it was supposed to. McLaren didn't get punished, but they did admit it, and then they removed it. I think I've got that right. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. So I imagine that's come from that. But what I find interesting with this, though, is in 2026, we've got a front wing DRS as well as a rear wing, in theory, from what I remember from seeing the 2026 regulation concept car that was shown last year. Because the joke was two DRSs, the rear and the front. So wouldn't it have made more sense to do this next year? Again, this is not my strong area when it comes to like the science behind these cars. But yeah, interesting. Looks like it's going to be more stringent, going to be more strict on the wings, basically. Tweaks to qualifying classifications. Last year's Sao Paulo Grand Prix raised the possibility of qualifying not being possible due to the weather, and it has now been written into the regulations that as long as the stewards accept that a qualifying session can't take place, the grid for the race will be defined based upon the Drivers' Championship classification. The same applies for a sprint qualifying session not being able to take place. In both cases, if the Drivers' Championship order can't be used, such as at the first round of the season, then the grid order will be decided at the steward's discretion. The way a qualifying classification will be reached in the event of multiple drivers failing to set a time in Q2 or Q3, or Sprint Q2 or Sprint Q3 has also been clarified. While drivers will continue to be ordered based on whether they started a flying lap ahead of those who left the pits to make an attempt, if there are any drivers who don't set a lap time and can't be separated by those metrics, then the order from the previous segment of the session will be used. As an example, if two drivers start flying laps in Q3 but fail to complete them due to a red flag and don't set a time, then they will be classified in the order based on who was fastest between them in Q2. So, Lando Norris and Max Verstappen, they go out. They're on their outlap. Out comes Jack Doohan. He crashes. Red flag. The times for Norris and Verstappen are now reverted to their times from Q2. That's my understanding of this. I don't know if I like that, if I'm completely honest. I don't know if I like that. Yeah. I think I'm against that. Because essentially, am I against it? Well, maybe not, because basically what it could theoretically be, if no one has set a time, it would basically be your Q2 qualification times, I guess. So the top 10 in Q2 would stay the same. Unless someone has set a lap, let's say Leclerc and Hamilton set their laps, but Norris and Verstappen, they're too late because of the red flag, because of Jack Doohan's crash. Yeah, not sure how I feel about this one. 7. A Mule car tyre test. The end of season test in Abu Dhabi will take a slightly different form this year due to the major change in regulations that will come into force in 2026. While the young driver test will run as usual, with the current car being used by a driver who has started no more than 2 Grand Prix, the second car has to be a Mule car that is adapted for the purpose of testing the 2026 tyres. Those tyres will be a different dimension and specification to the 2025 Pirelli rubber, and the expected performance characteristics of the next generation of cars will also differ. So teams can use either their 2025 car or any car falling within the previous 4 years that has been suitably modified for the purpose of providing the appointed tyre supplier with a means of track testing of its future products. Again, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they did this at the end of 2021 for the start of the 2022 regulations. Makes sense. No issues here. So yeah, change to testing at the end. And that is it. So 7 new things to look forward to this year. What do you think? I love the fact that we're going to see more rookies in free practice, because it makes free practice more interesting for us in a way. I am happy about the cooling system for the drivers, because obviously we don't want drivers being, getting unwell. We don't want them to be unhealthy, especially in hot climates. Don't know how I feel about the new qualifying rule. The fastest lap, I get it, but I am going to miss it. I would rather still have the fastest lap, if I'm completely honest, and that's not because of F1 Fantasy, that's just in general. It gives the fastest lap meaning to me. Otherwise, I actually wonder if we're going to see a lot of people appealing other teams' wings, rear wings and front wings now, because of that new regulation. So yeah, it's going to be a very interesting 2025 season. Cannot wait. Cannot wait. So that's it for this video, guys. If I do decide to release this video, then I will release it my usual time on Tuesday. So that'll be on the, where are we? So that'll be on the 18th, which is also the date of the F1 7502 live event, which I will be watching. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to be watching the Williams car reveal this Friday, if I remember. If not, I'll watch it Saturday morning. So there's that. And yeah, I need, come on, I'm ready. Let's go. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Now, if you do play F1 Fantasy, then I've spent the last 2 weeks giving you my predictions for both the driver statistics and the constructor statistics, my top picks for this season. Please check them out. Let me know what you think. Obviously, we haven't had pre-season testing yet, so this is pure speculation. But I'd love to know what you think. And yeah, as always, thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it.